Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most beneficent. First of all, I'm thankful to His Excellency Ambassador Shahid Amin Khan, the World Chairman, and the entire team for their strong support for me to manage day-to-day operations of International Secretariat in New York. I'm thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all His blessings, mercies, and bounties. I'm going to refer to a few comments made by earlier learned guests. And then, of course, I'll briefly express my personal opinion as well. Her Excellency President Rosalia Arteaga, she mentioned very passionately, and I totally agree with her, that vaccine is also very strongly becoming a part of the public corruption and the corruption of the Western world. Very unfortunate that the Western world and some of the corporate sector of the Western world is still trying to make billions of dollars by selling this vaccines and trying to control the third world countries and their people, trying to keep them away from the healthy lifestyle. I think that United Nations and its Secretary General, Honorable Antonio Guterres, a wonderful leader, he has to take the lead in this matter as well and make sure that the vaccine is made available to all the countries in the world, regardless of their financial status and regardless of whether they can pay or whether they can afford to pay or not. These Western words, I understand, living in America, I totally understand and I agree that our people in the United States have the right to get the vaccine first. But after having vaccinated most of the population in America, at least then we should offer the vaccine to the African, Asian, and all developing countries free of charge as a goodwill to the rest of the world. The public corruption, I don't see Her Excellency President Arteaga here. Looks like she has other engagements, but I'm sure she will listen to this recording as well or watch the video. The public corruption is also supported by the Western world. And how they support it? Because what happens is when the third world countries' leaders do the public corruption, they steal the money of their own people, their own countries, and the Netherlands, to America, to UK, all these countries. They welcome this stolen money from the third world countries. I think there has to be another declaration, just like a Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We should have a universal declaration of anti-corruption and anti-money laundering, that no country will ever allow a mass transaction of the money from third world countries unless it is supported by the documentation of halal or kosher or legal money. So that's the only way we can control the fraud and corruption. What a beautiful conversation, what a beautiful speech by Her Excellency President Fakim of Mauritius. She very beautifully said that human rights are only words unless we have respect for the human beings. So one of the only document unanimously adopted by the United Nations in its history was Universal Declaration of Human Rights. What a beautiful document. It still needs to be implemented fully. And again, I admire Secretary General of United Nations and his leadership, Secretary General Antonio Guterres. He is a very passionate person. He has to take very strong steps to implement this and make sure that the world powers also support him in implementation of this declaration. One more thing, which Her Excellency Dr. Fakim said, The women are facing violence. Who else? Who else can express this more than people who are under foreign occupation? My own home state of Kashmir is under occupation, illegal occupation by India for the last 74 years. And I would strongly urge all the participants to Google it, to see what's going on in Indian occupied Kashmir. In the modern history, nowhere in the modern history you see so many horrible, horrible atrocities committed by the occupying forces compared to what Indian army is doing in Kashmir. More than 10,000 women are raped by Indian army in last 30 years. More than 10,000. And I know all of us, and I know all of you have one woman or one girl you love from depth of your heart. Could be your mother, could be your grandmother, your wife, your sister, your daughter. Just put yourself for 1 minute in the shoes of the people of Kashmir. A young girl leaving for the school in the morning does not have assurance or guarantee to come back alive and with dignity and respect. A woman leaving for the work does not have the guarantee of coming back alive or with dignity. Even women staying at home do not have the same guarantee or assurance. Ladies and gentlemen, the occupation forces, they break into people's homes. They kidnap women and girls. They torture them, they rape them, and they throw their torn bodies into the rivers. Just a coincidence. Yesterday, February 23rd, was the 30th anniversary of an incident which qualifies to be a slap on the face of the human right, slap on the face of the humanity, a shame for the humanity. February 3rd, 1991, the cover of search operations, Indian Army's units, they cordoned off 2 twin villages in the remote area of Indian occupied Kashmir. They raped each and every girl and a woman in those twin villages. Youngest victim was 13 years old, and oldest victim was 67 years old. We talked today about implementation of judicial system or justice system. Ladies and gentlemen, these women and children and girls from Kunan and Poshpora, and I strongly urge you all again to Google the incidents of Kunan and Poshpora in Indian occupied Kashmir, 23rd February 1991. Many of those victims have died, gang rape by an occupation force, Indian Army. Many of them have died. And rest of them, they are still waiting to be served. Out of all those atrocities faced by people in Kashmir, not even one single person has been brought to justice by the Indian justice system that calls itself to be the world's largest democracy. How can we do it to humanity? Just put yourself 1 minute for the shoes of a Kashmiri woman who's been gang raped in front of her family. In 2018, February 2018, an 8-year-old girl from South Kashmir, Hindu mobs, taken to a Hindu temple, a mandir, gang raped for 10 days. 8-year-old girl. Gang rape for 8 days. Tortured. And after 8 days, her own body was thrown in a jungle. This is what the life is under occupation of the world's most brutal army, Indian Army. People of Kashmir were promised in 1948 and almost every year since then that they will be given the right to self-determination. Both India and Pakistan are the major parties in this conflict, being people of Kashmir the major party. India and Pakistan agreed to this, and India actually suggested that the right to self-determination will be given to people of Kashmir. We are still waiting for this promise to be honored. Please raise your voice. In 2019, after India revoked the special status of Kashmir, the Honorable Secretary General of United Nations, Antonio Guterres, and after that as well, he strongly expressed his support of the right to self-determination for people of Kashmir, and he said the final resolution of Kashmir conflict will be done in accordance with the UN resolutions. Unfortunately, despite the fact that he is the most loyal and the most sincere leader of the United Nations, just like the Honorable Chairman said, but the world powers are not supporting him. All those countries who signed the resolutions, who supported the resolutions of right to self-determination for people of Kashmir, they are not supporting the right to self-determination now. Please write to your presidents, write to your prime ministers, write to the media, and write to the Secretary General of Honorable Secretary General of United Nations to not to forget the people of Kashmir. There are many other issues faced by the world today. Climate change. I have a 10-year-old daughter. My own ex-president said there is nothing wrong with the climate. My daughter, 10-year-old daughter, last year in an event in the school was explaining to her schoolmates how the climate is impacting the whole world, the animals, the human beings, and everyone. And again, that is human rights. Women empowerment. How can we empower women if the women of people of Kashmir are treated the way they are treated by the Indian Army? Conflict and healthcare. Again, just like I mentioned earlier, the vaccine and the provision of vaccine to COVID-19 victims must be treated as a human right, and the vaccine must be provided to the rest of the world free of charge by the Western world. One more important thing, which Honorable President of the General Assembly, 73rd President of the General Assembly, Maria Fernanda Espinosa said, 110 million people affected by COVID-19, 2.46 million people died, 114 million people lost their jobs, and we are trying to make money out of selling the vaccine. This is not right. This is a clear violation of the human rights of the whole world. We need to step up and we need to fight back. And the International Human Rights Commission is taking the lead in all this fight, but we need your support. We need you to please step up and support us morally, politically, diplomatically, and even if you can support financially, we need your support. Once again, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, for your support, your confidence, and the support from the entire team. God bless you all. God bless America. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.